Hey, Trails Collective world. This is Ian coming at you with this round of Trails Collective Live, airing November 10th, 2022. If you are catching us live, feel free to drop any comments or questions into the comments box. Best place to do that would be on the Trails Collective YouTube channel in case you're watching it there. If you are catching it on my Facebook page, might come through to me better if you hop over to the YouTube channel, so check that out. If you are catching this after the fact, in podcast form, thanks for tuning in as well. If you are watching online, feel free to drop a comment into the comments box. We might be able to get back to you as well. But it is good to have you regardless. So last week, we dug in a bit with some international stuff with a Northeast Beast Coast voice with Sarah Kais and a longtime friend of mine, Luis Escobar, and talked about the snowman race in Bhutan a bit. This week, we are going to dig into the Beast Coast race scene, focused in on the Northeast and some of the events that have shaken out this past weekend as well as the weekend before. So thanks to those who are tuning in. Thanks for who are supporting the Trails Collective. The mission of the Trails Collective is to do what we can to provide more exposure for individuals, events, trail groups, coaches, nonprofits, whatever. All those entities which really make up a really beautiful trail community. And for me, the trail scene has not only provided just a amazing kind of local or personal resource, but I feel it's something that has the ability to bring us really all together. I feel like our communities and our nation are just entirely too divisive. It doesn't seem to be getting less ugly in that regard. But the trail community, the outdoor community will have, looking at you, Brian, in the back end, knowing you're on the river and the Ace Adventure Outdoors and all that. I think there's so many avenues that we do have that do bring us together, where a lot of that stuff, which is largely contrived to keep us separated, to keep us divided, falls apart when we can really just get out there and put in some miles together. And so I really want to appreciate that and celebrate it. So thanks for all of you out there who are supporting what we're trying to do here. So this week, or in this episode, we're going to get into here in just a minute. We'll lead in with Rim to River 100 coming at you from West Virginia. We will move to Stonecat in Massachusetts after that, 50K. Mountain Masochist in Virginia after that. Mount Tom, also Massachusetts after that, if I'm remembering correctly, on Massachusetts there, and then the Summit 50-50 in New York. So excited to bring you a number of voices from those events. Some other things just to get started with. One FKT that just caught my eye was New Jersey's 53-mile Batona Trail. Rhiannon Shade just put in an 8:54 mark for the one-way, which set a new women's supported mark. And it was a hair under Justin Kowski's men's unsupported mark. For all of you who don't know Justin, Justin is a beast. So for her to go under just under his time, whether supported or unsupported, that's pretty impressive. I think Justin was doing that in out and back fashion, so that was just half. I think he was putting in 100-mile for that one, but no less a pretty awesome mark for Rhiannon. Nice work. Michael Dagan still hanging on to the overall supported with 7 hours, 11 minutes from 2016. I think they are now living and doing pretty well in Scotland. So Michael or Micah, if you happen to catch this, I hope you are doing well. The Ultrasign Hot List events that are open but about to sell out. Cutler, Maine, the Bold Coast Bash is 99% full. That's running this Sunday. Looks like registration is still open. I don't know if it's in any of the, I think, 3 distances. It's basically a 10-mile loop that you can do the 10, 20, or 30. This is one that I went up and ran last year, and I can't say enough about the location. It's right on the border with New Brunswick on the Bay of Fundy, and the course is just like these moss-covered, unreal forests with exposure, and half of it where you run out on the rocks, just with the waves slamming off of the Bay of Fundy. And it is absolutely just remarkable. So if you are anywhere within reach of Cutler, Maine this weekend, I know it is out there. It took some doing to get there, but it was totally worth it. The Riverlands 100 in Turner, Maine, slated for May 6th, is 91% full. And Grayson Highlands 50-mile 50K half is 98% full. That may toggle up, if I remember right, as Sean works that one. But also a really beautiful course is running in Mouth of Wilson, Virginia on May 6, 2023. I think Sean does do a good job putting on his races. So if that's not already on your radar, check that out. So hopefully you all have good things coming up this weekend. I am headed out tomorrow for our regionals race. I'm assistant coach up at Ithaca College for the women's cross country team. So we have our regional race. Looks like it's going to be a pretty wet one in terms of course conditions, but hopefully it will be pretty fun. Hopefully you got stuff on deck already as well. All right, so let's get into some of the events. I am going to bring through Bryant Baker, Fishers, and Sarah, and Michael. Nice work, brother. All right, so Rim to River. It's run in the New River Gorges, West Virginia. Saw 143 finishers this year in sync with 2021. Is that around your cap, Bryant? Is that why that's consistent?
Our cap sits right at 250.
250. Okay. All right. So you'll get there. All right. So in sync with 2021, it was another fast year with the overall win going to Dan Green in 15:34, 2 minutes and 45 seconds under Caleb Bowen's prior course record from 2021, where Dan finished second. Also notable, I think that Caleb was out there on point for Dan's crew, if I caught that right. So pretty awesome that Caleb was out there leading Dan into breaking his own record. Hang on, let me mute you, Mike. There you go. I'll teach us feedback on you, Mike, but you're good to have you, man. And the for the women, Sarah Wallace took the overall win with 22:46, the fourth fastest women's time in the event's 3 years. So awesome. So introduce you who's on with us here tonight. So coming to us from Oak Hill, West Virginia, if I got that right. If I did my Facebook stalking adequately enough here. Operations manager, guide, and instructor at the Ace Adventure Resort and RD for here Rim to River. Sarah Wallace coming to us from Pittsburgh, PA. She's been racking up a good number of ultras the past few years, including Zion, Oil Creek, and Eastern States. For Rim to River, she sent 23:54 third place in 2020, 23:58 sixth in 2021, and a big PR this year for the women's win in 22:46. So third time is a charm on that one. Nice work. And Michael Daniel Wilson coming to us from Pennsauken, New Jersey, or wherever he happens to be out on the town at the moment. He is a beast and a good testament to his own coaching services, in case you're looking for a coach, averaging 1 to 2 ultras seemingly per month this year. In addition to numerous shorter races, he's nailed 6 100-milers this year, including Shadows of the South, Bighorn, Vermont, Virgil Crest, Midstate Massive, and Rim to River. He's finished his finish time this year, 22:52, is a huge Rim to River PR for him, following 27:25 in 2021. And this seems to be on par for the Event Matrix course for him. So good to have you, brother. Good to see you again. Randy and Megan Fisher coming to us from Fayetteville, West Virginia. Recently retired from the National Park Service as Ranger. He's been more found, I think, over the years on mountain bike or surfing big river waves when not in uniform. He plugged into an overnight aid station and with Megan, also picking up pacing duties in the final miles. And Randy was my first point of contact in fielding texts about creating a 100-miler right where Rim to River now sits. I think ahead of Rim to River's being put together as well. So it's good that it got on the scene because I think it was an amazing area and right for just that. So it's awesome to see it that it panned out. So good to have you all on. And I'll shut up here by segueing you in, Bryant. So just tell us a bit about what you created here, kind of the nuts and bolts of Rim to River and how it's been running.
Sure. So our main objective with Rim to River was just to really just showcase the New River Gorge. This is a place that we, being my wife and I, love. It's where we live. I've been guiding here for about 20 years. Guiding whitewater rafting trips and climbing trips and mountain bike trips. And it's a place I recreate, and it's a place I just love to be. It's a place I love to run. And so just kind of in that guiding mode of, facilitating trips and experiences for people, it was just always in the back of my mind of, man, I would love to get people out here running some awesome course. And so that was kind of the start of it. And we love bringing in people and showing them this place. I think it's, the course speaks for itself. It's absolutely gorgeous. The trails are awesome. And kind of putting the route together, my mindset was simply to take runners to all my favorite places. And so it's kind of, it might have a funky out and back style with like little out and backs on the out and back, but it's all for a purpose. It's all to kind of showcase this place we love.
That's awesome that it becomes so personal for you. And I guess maybe you answered it in saying it's an effort to take everybody to the places that are pretty special to you. But I mean, that's a beast. It just, I guess, let me back up. So through Ace Adventure, do you put on other events as well? Or is this your kind of first running race and the one that's on deck at the moment?
Yeah. So I'm the river operations manager for Ace. The Rim to River 100 and kind of Rim to River Endurance Company is a separate entity that my wife and I started, where Ace is happy to partner with me and kind of we get to use Ace as an awesome base camp, and use their infrastructure for check-in, for start finish area, that kind of stuff. It's set up beautifully for that. But as far as the races, like, this is something that's just kind of been a passion project with my wife and I's. We love putting these kind of things on, and so Rim to River 100 was our first one. We did it in 2020. Kind of went into it totally blind, like I've never directed a race before. I do feel really good about running logistics. Like we run, thousands of people down multiple sections of river throughout the summer. So operating logistics wasn't anything new to me per se, but definitely putting on a big race was. It's just been fun, just kind of learn as we go and tweak things and get better and better every year. And that's something that we're always looking for feedback from our runners, because we want it to be something that's world class.
And that's going all in. I mean, in terms of the desire to enter with 100 mile in 100 mile, I mean, that's the only distance, right? It's just 100 mile. It's not like you have sub distances in the mix as well.
Correct. So Rim to River will always be a standalone event, simply because of our capacity limits with the National Park Service. Mm-hmm. So for that day, for that event, we have a certain number of people that can be in the park. Yeah. So we do have a Cabin Fever 50K race that happens in February. Super fun race that goes on some of the same course, point to point 50K. And then for 2023, we've got 100K 4-loop course that we'll have in the spring, in April.
Nice. And then looking over at you, Randy, I think I would see your photos over the year, and I always thought, man, like, you really scored a pretty sweet location for that good chunk of your career there at the tail end. I mean, it just seemed like an amazing area for recreation. It just seemed like an area that was fueled really and supportive of recreation. It wasn't one of these kind of like hands off, come look at me, but don't kind of play in me. It looked like it was an area ripe, and it seemed like, just knowing kind of you were, on board at some level, that there was a good, I think, relationship between those who were recreating and kind of the governmental entities that oversaw. So it just seems like there was a good, I mean, maybe that was maybe I wasn't reading that right, but that seemed to be a pretty good kind of partnership in that regard.
It is. And for the most part, the National Park Service does the permitting. And then our main goal is, if the process is approved, is to really let the race director run the show, and then with the National Park Service being available there, if they need to be involved at all. But for the most part, once the permit goes through the approval process, then everything else is up to the race director, and we tend to be hands off after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. I know in some, well, at least I've heard. I've had a decent time working with the U.S. actually they're considered, put on one for years in Water Gap National Recreation Area, and it was a little bit different being a recreation area, but at least my interactions with the federal government in that regard were always supportive as well. But I've heard others not had quite an easier time with permits on kind of federal lands or areas, but it seemed like the that area of West Virginia was just like, man, all about recreation. Sarah, you crushed it. Yeah. So what, man, anything different? And Mike, I'll look at you too, man. You crushed it as well. But turning towards Sarah first here out of the gate. Man, what'd you take away the first 2 years? Obviously, you kept wanting to come back. Michael, I know you were stoked to go back as well. What was your takeaway after year 1 and year 2 to make you want to go back? And then anything that you did differently to just kind of have a crusher of a performance?
Thanks. I appreciate it. I think Bryant kind of said it. The race is just on such a beautiful area. And that struck me the very first time I was down there. And I had such a fabulous time that I was ready to come back for the second year. And I just was really excited about getting to do that course again. I think I said to Bryant this year at Aid Station 1, he's out there, cheering for the runners, and you come up a hill to Aid Station 1 and it's just sunrise, and it was all purple sky this year, and it was gorgeous, and it just keeps getting better. And I don't know how he does that. There's something he's got going with Mother Nature that this race just keeps getting better. And then the hard work that he and the volunteers put forth to keep improving. They seem unsatisfied. Even though it's a great race, they seem unsatisfied and keep improving each year. And so that kind of just makes me excited to keep coming back. It's a fabulous time. We get a lot of people from Pittsburgh that want to come down, and it's fun to get to see all of them there. In terms of this year and things that are different, I mean, it was hot. I didn't expect this. I didn't expect to drop my time quite so much, given the temperature out there, because it was getting to me a little bit. And I know it got to a lot of other runners, but I just tried to push myself a little bit earlier than I'm comfortable with. Getting out of my comfort zone is something I've been working on a lot lately. So just pushing myself a little more than I was comfortable with, and just, kept moving forward as best as I could. And I had a good team, good support down there. So that helps a lot too.
And this was 100 number. Have you done 400s at this point?
No.
Quite a bit more?
No.
So quite a bit.
Than that, but I'd maybe 7 or 8. I'll count and let you know, somewhere around there. But this is the only one that I've ever repeated. And it's a 3-peat now, so that definitely says something. Yeah, exactly. I think one of my friends was meant to come down this year, and she wasn't able to come, and she messaged me and said, well, I'm ready to do it next year. And I was like, yeah, I'll toe the line with you. I'll be there. So it's just a fabulous event.
And then, Michael, you as well. I mean, you've done quite a number. You're all over the place. I mean, you race so much. Like I said, you're kind of a beast. And so you've had some pretty variable hundreds this year. I mean, I guess rim to river. So what's the metric? And I guess you'd be Sarah, you could comment as well, because you've had some good variety of East Coast terrain here. But Michael, you've seen, I think, even more variety. I mean, so it seems like, and Bryant, you give us the specs, or any one of you can give us the specs. The elevation gain is decent, right? But it's not over the top. The trails are not overly technical for a lot of it.
Exactly. Yeah, I think, I train in Pennsylvania a lot. So lots of rocks, lots of climbing on the AT quite a bit. So for me, I think the trails at Rim to River are friendly. Like, it's a fun time. I had a really good day. The heat was a little oppressive in the afternoon. I wasn't expecting it, because last year I was freezing, and by mile 8 I had hand warmers and double gloves, and I was just suffering last year. This year I got up to mile 20. Maybe I had too much fun with friends for dinner the night before, because
that doesn't sound like you at all. I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, my race is variable, because I really just enjoy the trails. I enjoy being outdoors. I'm the guy that's out there. Like, I'll have beers, I'll pet puppies. I don't care. Like, this is fun for me. And if it's not fun, then you shouldn't be out there racing, honestly. But the Rim to River course is amazing. It's very beautiful, and the volunteers are always like very inviting, which is something that like not everywhere has. And I've raced a lot of different places, and they're always super friendly and just willing to help you, which I haven't seen everywhere. So I do really appreciate that. I had some friends also from New Jersey that raced, one finished, the other two struggled a bit and had to call it at a certain point. But they're used to different terrain. I think the terrain is manageable if you train, and just the course is a lot of fun. A lot of different changing scenery, which I get very bored easily. So the scenery there just kept me engaged. And I was kind of out of my comfort zone for a while in the morning, afternoon, because of maybe what I had partied with the day before. But, it all came together in the end. I saw, my partner Darren at Fayette Station with my dogs, hang out, had a beer with those guys, played with my puppies, gave them some treats, had some mashed potatoes, went back out, hit Onstead, came back, and saw them before the rain started. But all in all, I mean, I really enjoy the course a lot, and the team there does an amazing job.
And so then that talk of the volunteers just being on point, amazing, drawing. I mean, so then turning back to you, the Fishers, was this, I think this was, Megan, had you plugged in prior, or was this your first year formally plugging in as well?
I've volunteered at some of the aid stations in the past, and my business also has sponsored the event in the past, but this is my first year doing a pacer. Yeah.
Oh, right on.
Yep.
What's your business or businesses?
It's Mountain Surf Paddle Sports. It's a stand-up paddleboard company.
So is that how the two of you met?
Well, we met on the river. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And is that where you met Brian as well, Randy? Or was that kind of the river?
Through Megan at Ace.
Yep.
Megan was an Ace employee.
I guided with Bryant for a few years.
Nice.
Yeah.
So then getting pulled into the trail and aid stations, like over the years, and sponsors. I mean, that's pretty awesome. I think the events that really thrive are those that can really make it a full community event. It's not just pulling on your team of kind of volunteers as runners, but it's like, I think Michael commented just on some of the trails in Pennsylvania and trail scene in Pennsylvania. And it's a phenomenal scene, and they really pull at a large community. I think the communities to some extent are grateful to the events coming in. I mean, they really do bring in a lot of business for these communities, but it's also something, particularly in Pennsylvania, I think it's these communities that have lost a lot of their at least economic opportunities over the year, and they're already maybe outdoors through hunting or whatever. And so I think it's a natural fit. So it's cool when you're bringing in people like Randy and Megan or their businesses in and making it more of a full community front. And then from Michael's experience, I think that really shows too. And so Randy, that was your first time being in an aid station?
It was, yeah. Finally had time to volunteer. We did a shift from, I think, about 7 p.m. till the cutoff we were at Arrowhead, mile 71. The cutoff was at 4:30 in the morning. So we stayed there for the cleanup in the morning. And yeah, Sarah mentioned the aid stations. I think we're a very competitive outdoor community here, and that shows in the aid station also. In particular, I think Arrowhead and Contois has the biggest competition. We went out.
I don't know. Waterstone at Fayette Station is very proud of their station too.
So everyone tries to outdo each other every year.
And so, what's the secret sauce at yours this year? What did you have going on?
Meatballs.
Sarah or MDW, did you partake in any meatballing?
So I'm vegetarian.
Well, next year you need to up the game then with some vegetarian meatballs. Which I don't know whether that would go well, but yeah.
Yeah, I had a pretty staple of pierogies and mashed potatoes with some broth poured over top. I mean, I really fixated on like 2 or 3 things, and they had them at every aid station, and it just seemed to work. And I was like, all right, like they've got it down. Like I can have mashed potatoes with broth on top, and like it was like the magic sauce. Like I had no stomach issues, and it was always warm and tasted good. And it was like, all right, this is what I need at every race. If every race could just have me some like basic mashed potatoes and a little bit of broth on top, like I can make it through anything. I mean, it was a 5-hour PR, so for me, I struggled really bad through the night last year in the cold. This year, it was like everything just kind of came together, and I think it was I just kept eating and felt strong the whole time. So I appreciate it.
And Sarah, what's your go-to out there, nutrition wise, sustenance wise?
Sorry, I just had to
No,
find
you're good.
mute.
Yeah.
I switched it up a little bit this year, but probably my usual go-to is I like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and I stuff a couple chips or pretzels in them. So a little makeshift sandwich, but that's quite good. I always take a pancake from the last aid station on my way, and that's my tradition. So that's my main. Oh, and the soda is just heavenly. There's something magical in the soda out on 100 miler. So yeah, it was the aid station volunteers at Rim to River are just phenomenal. They do such a wonderful job and anticipate your needs so well. They're a ton of fun.
And then Randy, so
Ian, just
yeah,
to comment on that, like, we're an outdoor adventure community. But the thing that was in my mind that was always missing was the trail running scene. Like there just wasn't a trail running scene here. And so it's really cool. Like I remember the first year when we were, promoting the event and putting it on, like I was getting a ton of questions as not being an RD before. And, I remember somebody asking me like, hey, like, do you even have any runners to staff your aid stations? Like, how are these people going to know what these runners need? And, I thought about it and it was an email and I was like, you know what? Like, we might have one runner at every aid station. We might have some aid stations with no runners. But the people at these aid stations, the thing they're all going to have in common is they all care about this place. And they all know this place and they all love this place. And so, like, I'll take that over just somebody who knows how to run any day of the week. And I think that shows, like, at our aid stations, like, it's people who have been guiding for years, who make their livelihood here on the river, guiding climbing trips, climbing mountain bike trips, like local businesses. So I think that, that passion shows, even if we might not have all the technical running advice. Like it's people who are just psyched to see people here and want to show them a good time. And then another big thing for us is, with all of our events, but especially with Rim to River, our community from Memorial Day to the end of October, like we are jam-packed with people, on the river, doing stuff, hanging out in town. Our businesses are full, but in that off season, like that's when, we're a seasonal community. So that's when we kind of struggle. And so that was a big goal of ours, was to always have our events in that off season to bring a massive amount of people into town and just kind of have a nice boost for the economy, get local businesses involved, like Megan's, like Waterstone, like Ace. And so it's been really cool to see that, like, the community really has rallied around the race. And it's not, it was never intended to be like, it's not my race, it's not our race. Like it's a community event. It's something everybody can be proud of, everybody can be psyched about and get behind.
And I would agree there too. And I think that shows, especially in a 100 miler where people are just kind of beat down or whatever. I mean, just because somebody maybe doesn't have the experience, I don't know, taking out a hydration reservoir and getting it right the first time, getting the clip off or whatever. Like you might have a couple hoity-toity speedsters go through that are like, I don't know, maybe they get annoyed or whatever. But by and large, I mean, whatever. Just having somebody that's kind of loving or understanding in that moment or whatever to just give you some support, some compassion, and then just kind of kick you out of there. That's really just the crux of the situation there. So that's awesome, and hopefully that keeps working. Megan, how'd your runner get in? How's the pacing duty taking it in?
Oh yeah, it was awesome. I'm not really a runner. I was there more, it's my best friend, and I could be a pretty positive person. So it was more just like making sure that she was keeping a pace to get to her goal, and making sure she was up on her hydration and nutrition. But I mean, it was really just like keeping her in good spirits for the last 8 miles of the race. So by the time she got to me, it was like, you're finishing the race. And, we chatted, I sang songs, and kept her pace going so she could come in under her goal.
Shout
Right
out
on.
to Molly Wolf.
Yeah, Molly
That was the
Wolf.
runner.
Nice
Yep.
work.
Sounds like you
Congrats,
were a
Molly.
great pacer too.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, singing. I mean, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
And what's the course cutoff at Remington River?
It's 32 hours.
32 hours. So does that make it? What time is that? I don't remember what start time is. Does that make it like 4 p.m. or something?
2 in the afternoon.
2 in the afternoon. So did you have a golden hour? Did you have a couple coming in under that that wire?
This year was our most epic golden hour. It was
Yeah.
really good. Yeah, we had I think our last one finished with like 2 seconds to spare.
That's awesome.
Pretty epic. Yeah.
And Thoreau, Dave Walker, if you're on there, chiming in earlier, and Sarah gave you a shout out there. He's pretty hard ass with his cutoff time there, and his events with World's End 100K as an example is one that has a phenomenal golden hour in terms of lights and people getting in under there and really holding them to the fire. I mean, if you're like 2 seconds over or whatever, like, sorry, like you're come back next year or whatever, which makes a pretty cool scene. Well, right on. It looked like it just looks like a fantastic event, an absolutely beautiful course. Very, I think, approachable for not just speedsters like Caleb being on here, but also first timers. And a testament for Sarah, you going back, the first one to repeat and 3 times over. Michael, you've been around quite a bit at this point, and to also return and to have good things to say about it, to be able to pull the Randys and the Megans in. Megan, I guess you're maybe just gonna have to register next year at this point. I mean that's kind of the natural trajectory.
Do it.
Come on.
That was the furthest I've ever run.
Well,
Yeah.
you don't even have. Well, well, now don't look at it as a run. It's 32. You just got to be on your feet for 32 hours. That's all.
People will sing for you. We'll sing for you. It's great.
They will sing for you.
Yeah.
You got MDW there as a coach if you need a coach. Well, maybe Randy will just sign you up when registration opens.
Yeah.
I don't know if that'd be good for the relationship, but I don't know. But Brian, nice work. Brian, just jumping in and creating something that's been pretty magical just as an event for the community. Imagine transformative for you and your family as well. And awesome just to jump in with a full 100, and that's kind of the trial by fire. So that's a beast, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's been such a cool experience. Like, and so tons of work, but super rewarding.
Yeah, and hopefully it'll still grow. So you said the cap is 250, so you got some room to grow it still.
Yeah, I mean, we've 2020, was the COVID year, and so our cap was 200. But then the last year has been 250, and we've sold out every year. So yeah, it's exciting. There's definitely demand for it, and there's it's really encouraging, like, as a race director who's still feels like brand new to the scene, to see folks like Sarah come back 3 times. Like we had 12 runners going for their 3rd finish, which was mind blowing.
That's awesome.
And like guys like NDW who've run a ton of places, who have like a stout resume and still choose to come run with us. Like, that's just super encouraging.
That's right. And I keep saying 143 because that's what I'm looking at in finishers. But so to what you just said, so it's 250, but you sell out or it reaches the cap, and that was just the finishers.
Yeah. Yeah. This year's race sold out in like just under 9 hours, something like that.
Right on.
Yeah, it's kind of wild.
That is pretty wild. Well, that's awesome then, to create something even that and that demand and bringing people into some pretty amazing areas. So what do you guys got all on deck for the remainder of the year as a transition here?
I'm going to catch up on some sleep. I set my own personal record. I went like 44 hours without sleeping. So it was awesome. So yeah, I'm gonna rest a bit and then get ready for cabin fever.
Well done. I often would try to make it through the hundreds that I've put on, but often I'd kind of fail. I don't know, by like sitting down and like passing out like a half hour before sunrise or whatever. But nice work to being up that whole time. Fishers, what you got on deck in the?
Well, we saw a comment about Fayette Station being the best aid station, so Arrowhead will try to up our game next year.
Randy's retired. He's just going to sit around all winter, I guess.
And just think about what to do for next aid station.
Yep.
Yeah. Sarah and Michael, what you got?
Go ahead, Michael.
Actually, up next is 25K down in Maryland, Tuckahoe 25K. So I'm gonna be down there hanging out with Trent and racing that in a few weeks, and then some time off. I'm gonna plan my 45th birthday run in Philadelphia / New Jersey, and just have a bunch of friends run with me like I normally do. So, and then a little break until the new year really rolls around and I've got some stuff planned. So we'll see how it goes.
Man, that sorry excuse for trails down in Maryland there. That
yeah,
that's sloppy, sandy,
nasty, briary. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love them. They're good peeps.
They are good people. Good. And then Sarah, what you got?
Yeah, so I have a pretty empty calendar for a little bit. So I'm looking to fill it up, probably do some volunteering with a couple of races, just finding some ways to stay out and stay in the game and see what's up next. What's the other big challenge?
Right on. Well, there are a lot out there. Well, it's fun to follow you all, and it'll be cool to see where it all goes. Maybe I can make it down there sometime. West Virginia's for sure been calling. Highland Sky has been on my bucket list for a while. So is the trilogy. And you add in this one. I don't know. Who knows? But nice work to all of you. Thanks for being on with us here tonight, carving out a bit of time out of your own schedules. And it was, I'm thankful to have you guys here. So thank you.
I appreciate it, Ian.
Yeah, totally. All right. Talk to you later.
Thank you all. Thanks so much.
See ya. All right. Transitioning to Stone Cat. Lila.
Hi.
Good to see you. Good to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
Totally. I'm seeing that my internet connection here, I think tonight is lagging. So sorry for my, well, hopefully you can still hear me all right. So for those just tuning in or in the transition, so we are turning our attention to Stone Cat. Stone Cat originating as a marathon and 50-mile, ran its 21st year with 233 starters. And after a transition to a 50K only in 2019. Overall winner was Nicholas Lemon, narrowly missing the overall course record with a time of 3:51, whereas Lila here nailed it. So Lila is coming to us from Cape Elizabeth, Maine. Is that accurate?
Yep, that's right outside of Portland.
Right on. So I don't know what you have on deck this weekend, but maybe you should just make your way up to Bold Coast and hop in that field.
I wish I could. I have to work, but that's definitely on my bucket list for another year.
All right. I need to write you an excuse to get out of work.
Exactly.
Somehow. Yeah. So at only age 20, it'll be fun to see where she goes. Notching wins so far out of the gate with Big A, Catamount, and Stone Cat. Her finish in 4:13 establishes a new course record for Stone Cat, 12 minutes under the prior mark set in 2021. And I had reached out to Chris. He had made a comment in his write-up, and Chris, shout out to you for the Mass Ultra and the coverage that he does for the Massachusetts scene. He mentioned this might be Stone Cat's last year. Did I catch that right? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, it is supposed to be the last year unless, as far as I'm aware, another organization takes it over. So yeah, this was, the final running of it.
Huh. That seems a shame. It seems like the numbers seem pretty strong and it's kind of a classic race, and that's interesting that somebody hasn't picked that up already.
Yeah, it would be a great event to continue. It seems super popular and I enjoyed it a lot. So especially
now that you have the course record, somebody needs to pick that up so your course record just doesn't go away.
or I'd love to go back and try to run faster, but we'll see.
Totally. So you're awesomely young for kind of hitting the ultras. So what's your background? Am I kind of just quick Facebook stalk there? It looks like you maybe threw down a good time for a road marathon win. But what's the backstory? Where are you coming at running from?
Yeah, so I've been running cross country since like middle school. And I kind of had plans up through like my junior year to run in college. And then COVID hit my junior year. All my track season got canceled. And I'd always kind of had in the back of my mind that I wanted to run like longer distances someday. And I kind of, once my season got canceled, I kind of just started running more miles in training. And when races started happening again, I'm like, I don't really want to run in college anymore. I kind of just want to try out this ultra thing and see how I do. So Big A down in York, Maine was my first one. I ran that in 2021, my senior year of high school. And then, yeah, I've just kind of been doing 50Ks since then. I ran my first 50 miler a couple weeks ago. And then, yeah, tried some marathons this year as well.
What in Big A, I mean, that was a good segue one, right? That's not as far as particularly Maine, which has some really technical, obviously ridiculously technical areas. Big A isn't necessarily that technical, right? Not a ton of climbing, and it's just kind of up high and runs kind of a loop up there or something.
I would say it's the most. I've done a couple 50Ks, and it's the most technical that I've done. I think it's like 5,500 feet of climbing in total, and it's not the most runnable. I don't know. I haven't done any of like the super like
you may be right.
ultras.
I may be totally off. Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely the slowest one that I've run. So.
And you're in school now? Are you in college now? Sorry.
I am. Yeah, I'm at the University of New England now.
Oh, cool. Right on.
Yeah.
And so how's it going getting into it? Are you just kind of figuring out what it's all about? I mean, how's your body handling the volume, or kind of what are you finding, or kind of what are you figuring out? And where are you coming at it from that road marathon? What's your, as an example of road marathon speed?
Yeah. So, I feel like my body's responded really well. I was always kind of like a higher mileage person in high school. Like I'd always be the person who wanted to like go out and run more miles after practice. So I always kind of knew that I was more suited for the longer distances, I guess. But yeah, it's been really fun just getting into the longer distances. I've responded well, I guess. And then I ran, the Maine marathon this fall. I did a couple marathons in the spring. So I kind of just packed my calendar this year and kind of to find out where my strengths were. And it's been a good year. So
sorry, in case I missed it, you may have said it, but what's the marathon PR so far?
I did a 252 at the Maine marathon.
252. So you got some wheels. It's good.
Sort of.
No, sort of. You got some wheels. I mean, that's all. Sure, you can compare yourself to, all right, I'm not running a 238 or 37 with an automatic qualifier, but 252, especially if you're running 50 milers at this point, that's pretty quick.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd love to go for the Olympic trials qualifier at some point, but that's probably many years down the road.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, you've got at least 16 years before your body's going to start getting into those peak years, 16, 18 years. You might as well not crush it. So Grace just chiming in. What's your dream race? Have you kind of started scoping out the scene, or have you eyed up some that you're like, that one sounds pretty cool and I need to go do that?
Yeah, absolutely. After I ran, I ran the farm to farm 50 miler, and another runner told me that I should run JFK. So I'm not going to do it this year, obviously, too soon, but that's definitely a dream race. The Vermont 100, I'd love to get into the 100-mile distance at some point, but it's probably a few years down the road. And yeah, just looking at the bigger races around the country, I'd love to do Western States someday, but yeah, just kind of focusing on New England for now.
New England's got a lot of beautiful things to focus on, so not bad there. And yeah, I don't know. I guess I've seen it both ways in terms of people that do get into hundreds early. I think there's a crop of pretty phenomenal 100-mile runners, younger, maybe like 20 years ago or so when I was getting into it, that went hard but kind of flamed out. And so, I mean, that can always be a risk. That's a long distance that really kind of can take a crushing effect. So yeah, hopefully you don't rush into that. Though I imagine you would do awesome. And of course, like Vermont, you'd probably crush, I would guess. And how about Stonecat? So tell us a little bit about what Stonecat's all about. How was the course, or some of the metrics there, or how'd it go?
Yeah, so it's Stonecat's in Ipswich, Massachusetts at Willowdale Farm State Forest, if I'm remembering correctly. It's like a 3-loop course. You run like a little 1-mile loop around the school fields. So it tends to go out pretty fast, or it did this year. And then as for the trails, it's a combination of like single and double track. The single track is not too technical, but there's definitely some like roots and rocks in there. It's very winding, so it's hard to get a good rhythm going, but the double track section is really fast. There's like 3 miles in the middle of every loop where you can just like cruise. And there's a couple hills. I want to say it's like 2,500 feet of total climbing, but it's pretty fast. So it was my trail 50K PR. So it's definitely you can run a PR on it, but it's not like, you can't totally just cruise the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also pretty warm that day. It got up to like almost 80 degrees by midday. So that was a little unexpected.
Was this Sunday? Was it a Sunday race?
It was Saturday.
It was Saturday. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, up to 80 degrees. Yeah, that's thick.
Mm-hmm.
And how about race-wise? Do you have any other women out there as well, or were you just kind of pacing with the men at that point, or was it kind of on no woman's land? So
I went out pretty quick. I think I ran like a 6:45 first mile just around the school.
That'll do it.
Yeah. So at that point, I was with a couple other guys, and I think I was in like 4th or 5th place. So I just kind of tried to keep them in my sight. And then on the second loop, I ended up passing 2 or 3 other guys and moving into 2nd place and just like holding on for dear life the 3rd loop because the heat was really getting to me. So I slowed down a lot, but I knew there were people chasing and closing in. So I did end up running most of it by myself.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a lot of, going by other people, a ton of support out there. So it didn't feel like I was all alone.
Imagine you taking the first mile out in 6:45 will lend itself to mostly running by yourself.
Yeah, I wasn't in first though. I think Nick, who eventually won, must have taken it out in like 6 flat. So he was way ahead as soon as the gun went off, which was cool.
Yeah. I think I tried my first 100. I didn't finish. Dropped at 82 as Massanutten when I was, I think, 20. I don't know how old I was. I was probably around 21. So not too much older than you as well. And coming out of college, and you're young enough, and you've got the wheels where whatever 6:45 feels comfortable to you. If I remember right, I think we took the first 5K at Massanutten, 100-miler down in Virginia. I think out around like 17 minutes or like 17:30 or something like that. And
wow.
I don't know, it just felt comfortable. Like I didn't feel too pushed. I mean, I dropped at 82, so maybe that had something to do with it, but it really felt comfortable going out. So whatever, you're young, fast. So I'm at 6:45. Your heart rate was still pretty controlled and in check, I would guess.
Yeah, and it was just like around a grass field, so it felt like running on a track. It was super flat.
Yeah.
Very easy to start out fast.
So another comment, and Grace, thanks for being on here and chiming in. Can you speak to your support system? She relies heavily on her friends to support, but there aren't many young people running ultras. Do you find support from people who are older or friends or family?
Yeah, that's a great question. In terms of my family, I'm kind of the only person who runs, so they think I'm a little weird, but I do have like some friends out in the running community, and I feel like every time I go to these races, there's just so much support. I think people are excited to see like younger people out there. So I feel like I just make new friends at every race. And there's just such a great trail running community in New England. But I would say as for like the day-to-day training, I'm pretty much on my own. I do most of my training alone. And yeah, my family doesn't really understand it a lot, but yeah, I feel like there's a great support system out there.
Yep. Well, there's plenty of people that I think come in your direction as well. So it'd be cool if you could latch on with some other individuals. We'll bring in Sean and Steve in here. Thanks for being on the back end, guys, in terms of an event up in that neck of the woods as well. And I know Steven has gone up to do some pretty good efforts up in the I think the Whites and up into New Hampshire as well. So, I mean, that's for sure awesome scenes that hopefully you can get plugged in with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, right on. Lila, you ran phenomenal. Congrats on
Thank you so much.
Yeah, solid race. It's exciting to see you on the scene, and it'll be really exciting to just kind of see where it goes. Hopefully it's a fun ride, and for sure feel free to stay connected or reach out if you got any questions about races or finding things or connecting you with really whoever you need to be connected with. If it's JFK, for sure, let me know and I can set you up with connections there. But it'll just be fun to see where you go.
Definitely. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Totally.
Thank
All right.
you.
Well, yeah, hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Yes, talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.
All right. So we are going to turn toward Mountain Masochist and then on to Mount Tom. I am going to bring on Justin. Justin is coming to us. Justin, thanks for being on here, man.
Thanks for having me in.
Totally. Coming to us from Montclair, Virginia. Am I getting that right?
That is correct. About 20 miles south of DC.
Right on, yeah. Solid year of 50s under his belt with Holiday Lake, Terrapin, Promised Land, and now Mountain Masochist. That's a good run up to Masochist. So for Masochist, for those who don't know, they had an inaugural running in 1983. It is true trail running roots and a Beast Coast Classic. I mentioned it in the Northeast Roots Trail Race article that I have on the Trails Collective website. And it may be one of the only East Coast races to have had a legit trail shoe named after it, which I think I owned a couple pair, which was the Montreal Mount Masochist. It was actually a pretty slick shoe when it came out, fairly soft, fairly flexible. And it was awesome to have some of the events that Horton created be such elements of kind of the trail scene out there. So it's awesome to see that it's still going. And I can't remember, is Clark still RDing or somebody else take over that helm last year?
Actually, Tim Spalding, it was his first year as the RD this year. Did an amazing job. Great communication. Our volunteers were off the charts, and he did a nice job.
Awesome. It looked like it was a tight day of racing, at least for the 50-mile distance. Of 104 finishers of 50-mile, Justin, you took the overall win in 8:09 with Jacob Anderson hot on your heels, at least at what it looks like on the time, 40 seconds back. I'm not sure whether you guys battled or dueled. I did send a Facebook message to a Jacob Anderson, which looked like he was connected with AJW and a couple others. And I thought that was for sure him, but it was not. Wrong Jacob Anderson. Otherwise, I would have tried to have him on as well. And we can maybe talk about that in a second. Justina Wilson took the overall women's win in 8:58 with Lauren Head hot on her heels. And I did connect with Justina, and I did message Lauren, but didn't hear back. Only 6 seconds back. I think Justina was out there. I think she was maybe on her own after like mile 7 or something like that. But she was really surprised to see them coming in literally on her heels right before the finish. So that must have been pretty wild. And Rachel Corrigan in for third, only a minute behind them. So that's pretty, man, that's a tight finish. On the 50K, Sean Kate took the overall in 4:40 with Sawyer Magnet, top woman, and second overall in 5:04. Reached out to Sawyer as well, but she wasn't able to make it tonight. But like Justin, how'd it go down, man? That looked like a tight finish. Were you guys exchanging, battling out there, or does it just look tight on paper?
No, it was pretty tight, from the get-go. A young buck named Ben shot out of the gates pretty hard. I believe he's from Pittsburgh, maybe a second 50-miler. And then Jake, a gentleman by the name of Corey Johnston from down here in Virginia. We were all kind of together for a good part of, maybe half the race. And it's just, I don't know, we got kind of separated at times, but we all came back together in the end. It turns out that the young guy, he went off course at one point, and myself and Jake, we didn't know that we were in the lead, which is pretty cool. And maybe mile 35 into the 40s, we were together chatting it up, just thinking we were in second and third. And then we came into the last aid station, about 7.8 to go, and that the battle was on. And we're running some single track, some fire road, and then it eventually dumped you out onto some dirt road. And I'm ahead of him. I could see him maybe about 20, 30 seconds. And, I got one voice on my shoulder saying, ease up, man. You got nothing left in the tank. Slow down. Third place is okay. And the other side says, no, dude, second place is the way to go. Just keep pushing. Eventually it dumps you out to a paved road where the start finishes. And I see my family. I see my kids. They're cheering me on. And I just I put the hammer down. And then I see Dr. David Horton about 50 yards from the finish. And he goes, hey, you're the champion. The young buck, he went off course and he got DQ'd. So from, a potential third to a second to first place, I was kind of like, wow, I'll take it, I guess.
So that's pretty magical change in energy. Yeah, that must have been just the exhilaration, right? Of just your mind and your body getting through 50 miles, let alone hammering 50 miles to race, and just being that level of depletion, but also just that emotion of like, what?
For
Like,
sure. And even going in, I didn't really know what my overall goal was going to be. I was running the Lynchburg Ultra Series in the 4 races that you mentioned earlier, the Holiday Lake, the Lake Terrapin, and the Promised Land. The culminating race was Masochist. So I just wanted to finish the Lus. I was actually in the lead, for the Lus title, and that was my overarching goal for this entire year. So I just wanted to finish the race. Didn't really care where my placement was, but I guess it turned out to be the top spot, so I'll take it.
and would it have mattered in terms of that competition? Like, could you have just finished and took the top spot, or would you have to get like the top 6 at Masochist or something? Or
I had an hour and 40-minute lead going in, so I pretty much just needed to finish in front of the second place guy, and I could do that, just on a good day. But you never know. It's 50 miles. You could twist an ankle, and your race is over, the Lust is over. So I just I played it smart, and just ran hard when I had to. So.
And you've hit some classics down there. So are you originally from Massachusetts?
I am born and raised. Yes.
Yeah. And so moving down to kind of that Beltway area, I mean, you found your way into a pretty kind of awesome, just historic scene. I mean, that's one of the older trail ultra scenes in the country, and some of these formal events, and having, Horton still around is pretty awesome. So that's a pretty, I don't know, big family that you kind of entered into.
Yeah, it really is. The Eco X races that Clark and Dr. David Horton has put together, the Virginia Happy Trail Runners Club, is right out the back door, and they have races and fat asses all, every weekend essentially. And then right here in the community that I live in Montclair, we have something called the Dairy Queen Track Club that we've put together that I think you've had on.
I did see Patrick early,
Yes,
yeah,
and
like the post early.
just a great community down here, as mentioned, that we have to run, whether it be trail, road, or mountain, or ultra. It's just we got everything down here. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then the Masochist course, I remember mapping it for it. I think when they changed the course, was it 2019? I forget when that.
Yeah, I believe maybe 18 was the last year, was the point to point.
Yeah,
or maybe it was 19. I'm not quite sure.
I think I connected with Clark, and I don't know if he had actually a digital version or GPX log, and I really wanted to get the log when I was ranking and rating kind of all the courses for that Trails Collective article that I did. And so I remember mapping, and it's always, I kind of feel like I've been at these places, and I was watching kind of videos to try to know how the course runs in terms of technicality, to know how to rate it. But I just, I'm dragging the entire map and on my computer. So I kind of feel like the course, even though I've never really run the course, but I kind of feel like I get it. And so it seems like it's a pretty good blend at this point, right? I mean, you get a lot, and you reference it, but not overly technical. I mean, there's leaves down, but you get a lot of like runnable stuff up there.
Oh, for sure. You can move, 90% of the course. You can move at a really quick pace. A lot of fire road, a lot of double track. Like you said, leaves are down, so you got to be careful where your footfalls are. But you can cruise. Downhills. You could be running low 6s, mid 6s. There are some steep climbs though. And they might be on fire road. And you could be just trotting up it. But there's some places to move on it.
And I guess that can go either way, right? Because then when you're getting on such a runnable course, yeah, it still has some decent elevation gain, but that can end up being like a lot of running. I think I was surprised just running Promised Land last year for the first time, just how runnable it was. And I mean, I wasn't that fit going in. And so I was just thinking, man, like this is a lot of running. There's not really many places where you have an excuse to where like I should be walking right now. Like even if it's
dangerous,
climbing, it's still runnable. Yeah. Whereas other more technical stuff, maybe in this region, you get more excuses to like power hike or whatever. And some of those you just don't. Like they can be hard, but like, man, like you could be running if you're fit enough. Well, right on. Well, congrats on the overall win. Congrats on winning the series. What do you have up next? Anything this year, or what are you looking toward for next year?
Yeah, I think I'm going to shut it down for this year. Again, a couple of my Dairy Queen Track Club mates, they're trying to get me to do Hellgate, although the registration is closed.
Yeah.
Apparently they can, maybe talk to Horton for me, but I think I'm good. I think I'm going to pass on that and maybe look towards next year. I haven't done 100 since 2012. Vermont 100 was my last 100. I think I might give Old Dominion a shot. And maybe some lead up races, around this area, throughout the spring. So that's what we're shooting for, I guess.
Well, you are a glutton going after just a totally runnable 100-mile where there's literally no excuse to walk ever.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, that's probably not necessarily a bad thing. I think you got to want Hellgate, and but it would be cool to get into Hellgate. Hopefully, Hellgate Horton will stay at the helm for years and years to come. But it would definitely be good to get in there while he is still at the helm. I mean, that's, as he likes to say, it's a very special race, and that it is. So
awesome.
Well, right on. Well, Justin, thanks for carving out some time tonight. And again, congrats on this weekend. And it'll be cool to catch up with you again in the future.
That sounds good, Ian. You take care. Thank you.
All right, man. You as well. See ya.
Bye now.
All right. We are shifting back north. Stephen and Sean and Ian, thanks for being on the back end there as well. Boys, good to see you.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on? Can you hear me all right?
I can. Yeah, I think my internet connection's dragging a little bit tonight, but yeah, audio sounds good. So, Mount Tom, I always confuses me. I think if I remember right, there's like Mount Tam outside of where I used to live in Washington. And I always want to call Tom Tam. And Tam's a pretty awesome climb in case you guys ever find yourself in Northern Washington. But in any case, Mount Tom, Beast Coast Productions event directed by, was it just Amy or was it multiple individuals from Beast Coast out there?
I think it was just Amy.
I think it was just Amy doing it, yeah.
I'm sure Brian helped a little bit. Maybe do some course markings. I'm not sure. But
yeah. So put on with the Kestrel Land Trust, an event that cuts through the rugged terrain of Mount Tom State Reservation. They run a 25K and 50K, and the start and finish across from the New City Brewery. So it sounds like a pretty sweet setup. It sounds like a beautiful course, which maybe you guys can tell us about here in just a second. So Stephen Lange, always good to see you, man. He's coming to us from Stanhope, New Jersey. He's a beast that's all over the place, from FKTs to wins at Breakneck Point Half, Manitou's Revenge, and Kismet Cliff run this year. For having a bit of a maybe lull where you're feeling a little, I think, cooked or fried somewhere in that mix.
Yeah,
it's still a pretty outstanding year.
Thanks.
Shaun Donegan, coming to us from Saratoga Springs, New York. He sent a Greylock half win in June, followed up by a fourth at Escarpment in July. And what cued me wasn't just that Mount Tom sounded kind of cool. I think it was seeing your post, Stephen, on just saying how fun of a day it was out there, kind of you two running together. So why don't you guys just tune us in a little bit on what the Tom course was kind of all about, and just how it ran with you guys out there.
You want to start, Steve?
I guess so. Well, so the first mile 0.2 is on the road that brings you to this single track trail. So at the start line, everyone, you and me were kind of already talking, and I was commenting on your pink shoes, and we were just kind of giddy and having a good time. And the talk was, all right, let's not take it out crazy like last time. And everyone's going out at like 6:30 pace, and I was like, screw this, and I jump out in front and start dropping sixes, and you're like, all right, here we go. So that was the start, but then we got into the trail section and kind of settled into something a little bit more sustainable. Once again, like you were talking about, Ian, about that last race, this race had a ton of runnable uphills, and that's just something that I'm not really used to from my type of background in race. I mean, breakneck, Devil's Path, man, like all of this stuff. It's like hiking.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really not great at explaining the beginning of the race, but I'd say there was some rolling hills in the beginning, right, Sean? Maybe up until mile 6.
Rolling hills, mostly hiking paths, till like mile. I don't know. I guess the elevation really came on at like 5, and then again there was 112 to 15.
Yeah, but for the most part, it was, I don't know, 5 to 10% gradients where Shaun and I were running them. And then a few times we got off course and hopped back on, and we were running along with Brian Rozecki, and he was a beast on the hills. He was crushing all the uphills where me and Shaun sometimes were just hiking them. Maybe we were defeated from going off course twice together,
Yeah,
but
right.
I mean, there was a ton of leaves, and that's something also that I am not really used to racing in. It was like super vivid, leaves all over the ground. But the race was fun. I mean, Shaun and I were talking about life. We were just having a good time, and it didn't feel like that much of a race vibe. I feel like, which is odd to say, but
No, I don't think so, man. I
right?
don't feel like there was really the race vibe until like I think after we ran off course the second time. We're like, I just remember you being like, if we do this again, dude, we're doomed, man. We're doomed,
well, because we were losing steam. It's like you get off course twice. You're like, okay, like, am I supposed to reserve energy for getting off a third time? Which I did.
Yeah, so you were short that time, and yeah, I think maybe like around 12 to 15, I think you kind of went into like fight or flight mode, where you're like, oh man, like, I'm pretty tired here, and that's when you took off. For me, Mount Tom was like my second longest race of the year.
Yep.
I did the escarpment, and I was already worried about the Mount Tom distance, just not having the mileage under my belt for a race that long.
Right.
That second off course adventure, man, that's where like I felt like I was starting to hurt, from like 12 to 15.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to say the course wasn't poorly marked at all. I think we were just having a good time, and we were just blowing by the ribbons, and it was our own fault. But
well, that's what you get for running sixes on a trail race like that.
There's a lot of that course you could really hammer. I mean, there's a lot of that course that were like, carriage trails almost, man. And some of them were long, and you could just open up your stride and really hammer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the overall gain was 3K, or was it more than that? No, 37.
37, yeah, 37.
Yeah. So over 17 miles, 17.4. So
yeah.
I would compare it to like a slightly milder escarpment. I mean, with like less technical. There was a few sections.
There's a few sections. Yeah, and then like 12 to 15 had a climb, almost similar to the escarpment climb, two-part climb.
It was at the time segment that they were putting like a king of the mountain, queen of the mountain, like for.
So who got it? You guys get the king or queen?
So there was
I didn't upload.
You didn't up. So there was a gentleman, the gentleman who won the 50K. Actually, like, he uploaded and got the award, and I uploaded after, and I had beat him by 10 seconds. And I went down and just chatted with him, and he's like, dude, I think this is your stuff. And I was like, it's fine, man. Like, you did it in the 50K, so like major kudos to you. Like,
say only 10 seconds off, and him being 50K. I mean,
exactly.
That's pretty deserving there.
That's what I said. I'm like, dude, it's all yours, please. Like, it's all you.
And one of the other important things, I guess, what were those hot pink shoes, Shaun? Was that like a Saucony Peregrine?
I was trying out a pair of Saucony Trail Edge shoes for my buddy Brian, who's a Saucony rep.
Yep.
And I actually absolutely destroyed them in one race at Mount Tom. Like, I mean, I've never ruined a pair of shoes in one run. I mean, I actually cut off the bottom of them afterwards. So, but he gave me another pair for Moreau because he was worried I had maybe made an opinion about Saucony shoes based on that. And I wore a new pair for the Moreau half marathon, and I had no issues.
Yeah, and Brian's the tech rep, if I remember right.
Yeah. He'd asked me to try a pair on to give him some feedback.
Whew, that is some tough. I guess there's some feedback. Like, I guess you need to kind of make this shoe tougher.
Yeah, I think it was a manufacturing issue, actually, because I mean, I've never seen a pair of shoes get destroyed like that in one run.
Yeah.
One of the years at Cayuga Trails, I think Rozecki blew out a pair of his Scots. I think his Kinabalu, and he ran, I think, half the race with it just completely blown out. So you guys could have talked shoes.
Coulda, shoulda, but not, it's all good. I wore a pair at Moreau Lake half last weekend, which is actually more technical than Mount Tom, and they survived just fine.
Right on. Cool. So it was good that it was a beautiful day out there. It was awesome, Steven, to hear you with just some good energy in that post. It was good that you guys, it was just like play out there. Awesome to see. Do you guys both get to shut it down for the last couple months here, or anything on deck?
Well, I was actually, Bill Hoffman, who put on Moreau half, was like, dude, you got to come run this race. You got to come race Shaun. And I'm like, I just raced Shaun. and also, I just kind of wanted to end my season. I wanted to take some downtime and really like prep for winter, because I have some winter goals and kind of want to hop into maybe some schema racing. So I just wanted to really rest and get stoked for winter. So unfortunately, I didn't race you, Shaun. I hope it was fun there. I heard there was a ton of leaves down there as well.
The course was almost impossible to find. My home course, and I got lost.
Oh, really?
I ended up back on course, dude. And there were so many leaves. Every step was like a leap of faith, man. You had no idea what you were putting your foot on. You know?
Yeah.
Actually, my time at Moreau which was a 14.5 miler, was 3 minutes slower than our time at Mount Tom.
Oh, wow.
Something about the pace of the race.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what was it? The previous 2 years, apparently they had leaf blown the course at Moreau.
Yes, the previous 2 years they had blown the course, and some strange weird twist of fate. I ran the same time to the second the last 2 years at that race.
Wow.
The exact second. Yeah. So this year I did not beat my time, which was okay.
Well, I mean, conditions were not.
Yeah. And then as far as like winter for me, I got a couple of races because I do road racing too. I'm kind of a jack of all trades racer, so
yeah, you're awesome.
Couple road races, and then I guess there's like an ARE Albany Running Exchange has this cool race up in Warrensburg called the Adventure Race, and it's basically just almost like a fell style race, if you're familiar with.
It's a what? A what kind, you said?
A fell style race where there's basically no real course, and it's just flags.
UK running.
Fell style. Got it.
Yeah, you just blast to the woods, and then I'll gear up for snowshoe racing season after that.
Cool.
Sweet.
What's the name of the fell style one, you said?
It's called ARE. It's called the Adventure Race.
Huh.
And it's kind of neat because three different people mark the course. So you don't know, no one knows how long the course is going to be, and no one person knows entirely what the terrain is. You know, it's usually only I think the longest it's ever been was 8 miles.
And where is it run?
Warrensburg, New York.
Warrensburg. I don't know.
Yeah, you can find any details. It's north of Lake George, but Albany Running Exchange. It's put on by Albany Running Exchange.
Cool. Right on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
Sweet. Well, guys, thanks for carving out a bit of your time tonight. Nice work on the duel.
Yeah, it was fun.
Thanks for chatting.
For sure, man.
Yep.
Yeah. All right,
Ian.
Yeah.
All
I'll
right.
catch you both later.
Later, Steve.
See you, dude. Thanks, guys.
All right, and so we are turning back toward my neck of the woods. Ian, thanks for being on, and thanks for your patience as we push back here a little bit. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, Ian. Thank you.
Yeah, man. So you're coming to us from Syracuse, right? I mean, that's where your home base is?
Yeah, that's right. Just outside Syracuse. Yeah.
And head reluctant runner at Reluctant Runner Racing and RD of the Summit 50/50. We, I think, talked... we had you on last year where you plugged a bit on the Summit 50/50, or maybe that was the other one that you were working on, which was the kind of unique format one.
Yeah, it was, I think it was right after. So 2021 was the first year of the Summit 50/50. I think I was on right after.
Yeah.
Probably around the same time last year.
And so,
yeah,
good for you to be back. How was the time overseas? Hot.
Yeah, it was really hot. I was in Qatar for probably about 6 months, from middle of April to early October, and then came back. And so it was great. I enjoyed my time there, and it was just really hot. I mean, I had to run at night my longest run there was 10 miles because it was just, you couldn't drink enough water. Even in, I'd go running at 9:30 at night and it would still be 100 plus degrees and wicked humidity. And so it was tough, but I think it got me in pretty good shape, fitness wise. So
you need to create some sort of little, maybe like a hydration vest device, maybe with a little battery pack in the back, where instead of just like drinking it, it's sending over and you got this little attachment with like a spray fan that's just kind of misting you the entire run.
That's right. It would have been helpful there. But I mean, I was soaked anyway with sweat. It was just, you had to like I had to peel my shirt off of me at the end of even a like 3 or 5 mile run. But it was good. I enjoyed the work and working with a lot of obviously a big international group of people, and was happy to be back home in upstate New York, especially this time of year.
Yep.
And the weather we've had over the last month has been incredible. So
yeah, and so with that, then you had an absolutely beautiful weekend, and you put on an event in a truly just beautiful place. So tell us a bit about Summit 50/50 and how the day shook out.
Yeah, it was great. So just as a quick recap, so the 50/50 is a 50-mile, 50K, and a 25K looped course at Allegheny State Park. The trails are mostly double track, groomed. They're actually built for cross-country ski trails during the winter at the park. And there's probably in total for the 50 milers about 5 miles of single track. Even still, it's not overly technical. There are roots and rocks. Probably the biggest thing about the single track there is that the location for it, there's a lot of hairpin turns. So especially we start at 6 o'clock in the morning. So it's dark until probably 7:15, 7:30 before the sun starts coming up. And so people were getting confused a little bit with, you see headlights either down the hill or up the hill, and with all the leaves down, like some of your other guests have mentioned, it can be difficult to see the trail. But other than that, kind of short-ish 3 miles, it's great. And like you said, the park is beautiful. It's a massive park. And so we just kind of have the race in a small little portion of it. Elevation per loop is a little over 2,000. So the 50 milers will get about 6,500 feet of gain over the 50 miles. And so the park was great. The weather, we started out as crisp 30 degrees, 35, no wind. So it was just like that really kind of biting cold where you feel the chill, but it doesn't really go through you like when it's windy. Mm-hmm. The sun came out. I think we got to a high of probably about 60, maybe mid 50s. So it was really a perfect running day all around. And certainly the park was great. So just
any fast times thrown down, or people that or any cool stories that came out of it?
Yeah, I think so we had 5 out of the 6, so it's our second year running, right? 5 out of the 6 races for male female were new course records. So Pat Hallahan threw down an 8:14:56, which shaved about 42 minutes off of the 2021 record.
Not a small amount.
No. And then on the women's side, Cindy Batzel shaved 25 minutes off to turn in a 10:43:17 for the 50 mile. And what else we got here? Hannah Rockwell for the female 50K. She turned in at sub 6 at 5:54. And for the 25K female, Samantha Curtis turned in 2:25.27. So I think the course records, as the race grows, and the sample size of runners that we get, I don't want to say improves, but you have
get a bigger matrix.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So over the next couple of years, I would kind of expect to see the course records to keep coming down a little bit, and hopefully, get even more competitive and a little bit closer, and see how it goes. The nice thing is, and this is something I realized again with this bigger sample size, we went from about 32, 34 registrations in 2021, and this year we had 76, which I was thrilled about. So pretty much kind of doubled our numbers. What I learned from seeing the bigger race field was that the fast kids, they can go fast and they can turn in a really fast time. Still be challenged because of the elevation, and yet at the other end, like us back in the pack runners, we're definitely going to feel challenged, but again, it's still runnable. So it's a course that is can be a goal race, for a more novice runner. I think that, and that was nice to see actually with the big sample size. It's what I thought could happen, but to actually see it was kind of nice. So
what's the distance of the loop is what again?
For the 50 milers, it's a little over 17, right around 17. For the 50K, 25K, it's 15, a little over 15. So,
and for the park, for those who aren't familiar with Allegheny, is I guess, even though different spelling there, right? I mean, it's straddling in, merging between the New York and Pennsylvania sections. So huge park, an amazing amount of trails, so much that you can run with there. And yes, so much of Pennsylvania is coming out. A lot of the events are so technical in terms of just like rock kicking terrain or whatever. It's nice to have a breath of non-technical as technical terrain there in Allegheny. So hopefully it continues to grow. And I guess if you chose to expand it more, you've got so much terrain to work with in terms of the footprint.
I think that's the next step at that park for me is to figure out what else can be done and really take advantage of the whole park, not just the little kind of corner that we're in, So try to find something else and work with the park. They've been really great to work with, and are receptive to some of the ideas, but we just need to continue the conversation and talk a little bit more about what else can be done.
And so 2 comments in. Ellie, thanks for chiming in. You kind of Rockies Boulder, right? Thanks for paying attention to actually East Coast news here. I appreciate it. Just mentioning a shout out to Eric Egan on having a Trail Town article on the Trails Collective website on Allegheny. So for those who want to check that out, that's at the Trails Collective site. And then Grace, thanks again for being on with us tonight and plugging in. Just the question for Ian, where is the start or kind of where's the staging area?
Yeah, so we use the Art Roscoe cross country ski trails, and they have a warming hut right at the trailhead there at near the Summit Cabins, and that's a start, finish, and primary aid station. So it's a great place to park. There's cabins. I rented a cabin and stayed right there and just walked up in the morning to start the race. So super convenient.
Sweet
to be. So,
but this was For Reluctant Runner, do you have any that are still on deck for this year, or this was your kind of cap
No.
the year?
Yeah, that's the last one for this year. I'll be taking over Scott English's Salt City Trail Running
Cool.
for 2023. So
Yep.
I've started working on our next race in end of April will be the first one. So,
Awesome. That's
yeah.
exciting, especially being in your backyard and pretty established races and people
Yeah.
that people have really enjoyed them. So
Yeah.
nice work. That's a great,
Yeah.
great transition.
Yeah. Scott's done a great job in really supporting the community around here, and look forward to kind of carry on what he's started. So
cool. So you got some stuff to do between now and then in terms of logistics and getting up to speed on it.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And are you stateside next year? Or are you back to Qatar? What's your?
No, I should be here. I'm planning. I've started training I'm going for the Triple Crown of 200s
nice.
next year. So I've kind of started training in earnest, and we'll try to. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but mix in training, doing those races, and then also RDing somehow. So
living the life, the running life. So do you have to get in through the lottery for each of those, or can you sign up for just the crown and you're kind of in? Or
yeah, you can. If you sign up for the Triple Crown, you're guaranteed a spot. And I've gone out and volunteered at a couple of their races in Tahoe and Moab. So there was
a segue there
too. That helped. That volunteering helped.
That's exciting. So I imagine it's a little intimidating from where you're sitting now, but pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is. Like the thing about it is I've seen two of the three, either volunteering or running Moab, and it certainly is intimidating. But to some degree, I also know what's ahead of me. So that part, I'm fairly confident on the races individually. The thing that's scary really is putting all three of them together in 1 year over the course of a few months. That's what I don't know how I'll respond in between one to the next. So, but we'll figure it out.
You'll figure it out.
There's only way to find out. So
cool.
Yeah.
Well, Ian, thanks for pushing back here a week or so after the race. Thanks for carving out some of your time tonight. And I'm excited for your year ahead. That's going to be a big year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and it's going to be a lot of work, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and it always is with the trail community. You know this as well as anyone up here in Central New York. There's some great people, so I'm looking forward to getting to know a lot of new people, and then seeing the runners back out too. So
cool. Right on. All right. Well, then I will catch up with you more around that time, and maybe some of those events, but for sure, as you're digging into or after the crown would be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Right on.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Ian. All right, man. Have a good night.
Yeah.
All right.
Cheers.
All right. So thanks for to those of you who are on live with us for this round. Next week, we should be at least a good segment, if not the whole one, on the World Trail Championship. I think so far I've heard back from Michelle Merlis and Max King and Andy Wacker and hopefully Eric LaPuma and hopefully several others that are going to be in that mix as well. So hopefully that's going to be a good time. Sounds like it was a great trip. Hooper, if you're logged in, hopefully we can chime in as well. And I'm looking forward to it. So Thoreau, aka Walker, thanks, buddy. Thank you very much. Thanks for being on here and chiming in, brother. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for those who support the Trails Collective. And I will catch you. I think it's going to be next Wednesday. We'll probably go live around 7:30 or 8 p.m. Working on that schedule now. But I'm looking forward to it. All right. So thank you very much again to all of you out there, including the Patreon supporters who make this, who show us a bit of love and support and back, whether you're on here dropping some questions or comments and just being part of the community. Really do appreciate it. Ellie, thanks to you for continue to plug in and chime in. Hopefully things are going well out there in Boulder, and appreciate it. All right. So until then, I will catch you all later. All right. See ya.